Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but nothing is moving? You're praying, you're working, you're waiting, but the breakthrough isn't coming. You see others get blessed, and you're stuck in a cycle of struggle, silence, and delay. Let me tell you something today. There is nothing wrong with the one who sends the blessings, but sometimes there's something blocking them. And it's not the devil, it's not your enemies, it's you. Yeah, you can block what God wants to give you, but today we're going to expose it. Today we're going to break it. Because when you clear the blockage, the blessings will flow. Pride is one of the most dangerous barriers between a person and the blessings that are meant for them. It may not scream loudly, it may not announce itself openly, but it sits deep in the heart and begins to rot everything around it. It is a silent killer of blessings. A hidden wall that blocks the light from reaching your soul. When a person allows pride to take root, they begin to see themselves as the source of their own success. They start to believe that their knowledge, their strength, their connections, their talent is what got them where they are. They stop recognizing the hand that guided them, the mercy that covered them, the unseen protection that shielded them. And when gratitude fades, so does favor. Pride makes a person unteachable. It causes them to turn away from advice, reject correction, and despise humility. It hardens the heart so that even when the truth is clear, it is ignored. It makes a person look down on others, compare themselves constantly, and measure their worth based on status, possessions, or appearance. But blessings are not poured into proud vessels, because proud vessels are already full of themselves. They leave no room for divine grace. You see, when pride grows, submission disappears. And when submission disappears, obedience becomes difficult. The heart that is lifted up too high cannot bow, and the blessings of the Most High are not given to those who stand tall before Him, but to those who bow low. Pride makes a person challenge what they should surrender to. It makes them question what they should obey. It creates a false sense of independence, as if they no longer need help, no longer need guidance, no longer need mercy. And in that moment, they close the doors of blessing with their own hand. But what many don't realize is that pride is not just arrogance in speech or behavior. It can also be spiritual. It can hide in the way someone looks down on others who struggle. It can hide in thinking that one's worship is enough, or that one has already reached a level that others have not. That kind of pride is more dangerous than any other, because it comes dressed in the clothes of righteousness. It blinds a person to their own flaws while making them obsessed with the flaws of others. And the more they elevate themselves, the further they fall without even realizing it. When the heart becomes proud, it refuses to repent. It finds excuses. It shifts blame. It clings to its ego and pushes away humility. But repentance is the key that unlocks the mercy of the most generous. So when pride locks the door to repentance, it locks the door to mercy. And when mercy is locked out, blessings are held back. The solution is to return to humility, to look inward instead of outward, to recognize that every breath, every success, every moment of safety, every provision is not earned but gifted, to stop competing and start submitting, to realize that being small in your own eyes opens the door to being raised in the sight of your Lord, because the ones who bow are the ones He lifts, and those who walk humbly are the ones who are wrapped in favor. So if you want the blessings to flow, break your pride before your pride breaks you. Empty your heart so it can be filled. Lower yourself so you can rise, because no matter how high you think you've gone, you will never reach what He has prepared until you kneel to receive it. Persistent disobedience is like walking away from the sunlight while asking for warmth. It is a condition of the heart where a person knows what is right, hears the reminders, feels the warnings, but still chooses to go the other way. It's not about mistakes made in weakness. Those are human. It's about rebellion that becomes a habit, about turning the back instead of bowing the head, about hearing the truth again and again but growing numb to it. When this becomes a pattern, blessings do not just delay, they retreat. There is a difference between falling and living in a fall. A person who slips into error but regrets it, feels the weight of it, and struggles to return. That person is surrounded by mercy. But the one who hears what their Lord wants from them and still insists on doing the opposite, the one who silences their conscience and feeds their desires while knowing better, they are choosing to block the blessings with their own hands. Every act of disobedience builds a barrier. One lie becomes a wall. One betrayal becomes a roof. One stolen glance, one broken promise, one ignored command. They stack on top of each other until the heart is caged and the light no longer enters. Blessings come through the gates of obedience. Obedience is not about perfection, it's about direction. It's about consistently striving to be on the path, even if you stumble. But when a person persistently walks the other way, when they turn their disobedience into a lifestyle, it becomes a message not to the people around them, but to the one who gives everything. It says, I know what you want from me, but I want something else. And that kind of message carries consequences. The giver of blessings is generous, patient, and merciful. But he is also just. He does not bless rebellion with more room to rebel. Sometimes blessings are withheld, not out of anger, but out of mercy, to wake the soul up before it's too late. Disobedience is heavy on the soul. It darkens the vision, blurs clarity, and poisons purpose. It removes the sweetness from worship. It makes the heart restless. It opens doors for confusion and invites chaos. And eventually it begins to make a person doubt the very things they once believed with certainty. The longer you stay in disobedience, the more it reshapes your thinking, dulls your sensitivity, and hardens your heart. And a hard heart is one of the most dangerous spiritual conditions. Because when the heart becomes hard, even blessings begin to feel like burdens. Persistent disobedience also weakens the connection with the one who blesses. It makes a person feel distant and eventually indifferent. The tears stop, the prayers lose focus, the hope fades, and yet the person still wants increase, still asks for blessings, still desires peace. But how can peace come to a heart that's at war with its own Lord? How can blessings fall into hands that are closed in defiance? There is always a way back, but the longer you persist, the harder that path becomes, not because the door is closed, but because your heart forgets how to find it. And if the soul forgets the way back, it chases substitutes, chasing temporary pleasure, temporary success, temporary highs. But nothing fills the emptiness that disobedience creates. What must be done is simple, but it requires strength. Turn back, surrender, obey even when it's hard, listen when it hurts, follow when you'd rather stay where you are, because obedience is the key that unlocks not only blessings, but peace. It is the proof of trust. It is the sign of love, and it is the path to being chosen. Chosen to be favored, to be protected, to be raised. When the heart starts obeying, even the smallest acts are seen and multiplied. Even silent tears are counted. Even hidden struggles are rewarded. Because the one who gives does not forget the efforts of the obedient, but for the one who persists in disobedience, who knows and still refuses, the delay of blessings is not punishment. It is a call. A call to wake up, return, and realign before what was delayed becomes what was lost. So check your path, look at your steps, ask yourself, not just what you're asking for, but what you're doing. Because if the blessings aren't reaching you, maybe it's time to stop blaming the storm and start checking if you're walking in the wrong direction. Ingratitude is one of the most subtle yet most destructive conditions of the heart. It doesn't always appear in the form of loud complaints or dramatic expressions of dissatisfaction. Sometimes it hides in silence. It hides in the failure to reflect. It hides in always asking for more without appreciating what is already there. A person wakes up with breath in their lungs, strength in their limbs, food on their table, shelter over their head, and loved ones around them. And yet the heart feels empty, not because they lack blessings, but because they no longer see them. When a person becomes ungrateful, they train their eyes to only focus on what they don't have. They scroll through life constantly comparing, constantly longing, constantly measuring their worth by the blessings of others. They forget that what they already have is something someone else is praying for with tears in their eyes. They forget that every moment of safety is a gift. Every drop of clean water is a mercy. Every uneventful day, every simple meal, every quiet night. These are treasures, but only to those who can see. Ingratitude makes a person restless. No matter how much they receive, it's never enough. It becomes a hunger that can't be satisfied. It blinds them to the beauty in their own life, and worst of all, it disconnects them from the one who gave it all. Because gratitude is more than just words. It's recognition. It's acknowledgement. It's a form of worship. It is a sign that the heart is alive and aware. When gratitude disappears, it's as if the soul goes numb. And when that happens, blessings begin to dry up, not because they're being taken away, but because they're no longer being recognized. You could be surrounded by favors, but if you can't see them, you'll feel cursed. You'll live in frustration while sitting in abundance. And eventually, that constant desire for more without appreciation for what is turns into entitlement. The person stops asking with humility and starts demanding with arrogance. They stop thanking and start complaining. And complaints are heavy on the ears of the one who gives generously. You see, the flow of blessings is tied to the gratitude of the receiver. The more thankful you are, the more you are given, not just in material form, but in contentment. Gratitude multiplies what you have and gives sweetness to it. But ingratitude shrinks everything. It takes the joy out of the gift. It darkens the brightness of life. It turns abundance into emptiness. You could be holding gold but feel like it's dust, simply because your heart refuses to acknowledge the value. And it's not just about material things. Sometimes it's about the people around you, the ones who care, who support, who love, who sacrifice. When ingratitude settles in, those relationships are taken for granted. Words of thanks are no longer spoken. Acts of kindness go unnoticed. And eventually, those people grow tired. Even human hearts have limits. And when people leave because they feel unappreciated, it's often the consequence of a habit of ignoring blessings when they're right in front of you. But what makes ingratitude so dangerous is that it removes a person from the position of being trusted with more. Why would the giver pour more into hands that never acknowledge what's already there? Why would more be added to a heart that closes itself to the gifts already given? Gratitude shows that you're ready for increase. It shows that you recognize the source. It's not just good manners. It's spiritual wisdom. It's the language of the soul. And when that language is lost, the soul begins to starve. If you want to see the blessings flow again, you don't need to ask for more. You need to see what you already have. You need to sit with it, reflect on it, speak about it, write it down. Show appreciation to the one who gave and to the people through whom he gave. Because when gratitude fills your heart, it transforms your whole reality. It brings peace, it brings clarity, it unlocks joy even in the middle of pain. So if the blessings feel like they've stopped, look inward. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly said thank you? Not just with your lips, but with your heart, your actions, your attitude. Because sometimes the blessings aren't gone, they're just hidden behind a veil of ingratitude that you must choose to lift. Neglecting the rights of others is one of the most overlooked causes of withheld blessings. It is easy for a person to focus on their personal worship, their prayers, their private relationship with their Creator, while completely forgetting how they treat the people around them. But the path to divine favor is not only paved with prayer and remembrance, it is also paved with justice, compassion, honesty, and fulfillment of obligations to others. When a person wrongs another, whether in words, actions, or even silence, it becomes a barrier between them and the mercy they are seeking. Blessings are not given freely to the one who carries the weight of someone else's pain on their shoulders. There are people who fast and pray, who give in charity, who speak words of goodness, yet their blessings seem blocked. They feel spiritually dry, emotionally drained, and their efforts seem to go unrewarded. Often the cause is hidden in how they have treated others. It could be a broken promise. It could be taking someone's right and refusing to return it. It could be backbiting, slander, or a word that humiliated someone. It could be oppressing a family member, underpaying a worker, or dishonoring a parent. These wrongs do not disappear just because time has passed. Time does not erase injustice. Only repentance and correction do. You cannot hurt others and expect to be at peace. You cannot take what is not yours and expect blessings to rain down. There are people who are suffering silently because of something you did, and their silent prayer against you is powerful. Their tears become a shield that stands between you and the blessings you are waiting for. Even if no one saw what you did, even if no one knows what you took, the one who sees everything is not unaware. And his justice may delay, but it never forgets. There are people who step on others to climb higher in life. They lie to protect their image. They cheat in business. They cut others off, disrespect elders, ignore the pain they cause. They build a life on injustice and then wonder why peace escapes them. They perform acts of worship without realizing that worship built on the foundation of injustice is like a beautiful building on a cracked foundation. It may look good, but it cannot stand for long. Sometimes it's not even about major crimes. Sometimes it's about everyday neglect, the way someone is consistently rude to their spouse, dismissive to their children, unkind to their parents. It's about how someone abuses their authority at work, takes credit for what others did, or withholds kindness when it costs them nothing to give it. These moments matter. They add up. And they testify for or against a person. Blessings are not only measured by what you do in private, they are deeply affected by what you do to others. There are even people who are very careful in their rituals of worship but are careless in their business dealings. They will stand in prayer with full concentration and then walk out and deceive a customer. They will recite sacred words with their tongues and then slander their own family with the same mouth. This contradiction is dangerous. It sends a message that they want the reward of obedience without living the Spirit. But true worship transforms a person inside and out. It makes you more just, more compassionate, more honest, more trustworthy. If you've wronged someone, you must make it right. It is not enough to simply feel bad or pray for forgiveness. The rights of people are not automatically erased. You must return what you took. You must apologize with sincerity. You must undo what can be undone and seek forgiveness from those you've harmed. And if the person is no longer reachable, then pray for them. Give in charity on their behalf and commit to never repeating that mistake. And if you've been wronged, if you're the one who carries the pain, know that your prayer is heard. Your tears are not in vain. The delay of justice is not a denial of it. But never let the pain make you unjust in return. Never let someone else's failure to give you your right make you fall into the same trap. Protect your heart from revenge and protect your tongue from bitterness. Justice is not always seen in this world, but it is always delivered in the end. If you want the blessings to come freely, walk through life with a heart that is clean and a record that is just. Return every right, speak every truth, lift every burden that you placed on someone else, because when you fulfill the rights of others, the doors of divine mercy open wide, and when you neglect them, they close no matter how much you knock. Doubt and distrust in the promises of the Most High can quietly drain the soul of its strength. Even when a person appears outwardly committed, It is not always the loud, declared disbelief that shuts the doors of blessing. Often it is the quiet hesitation, the subtle questioning in the heart, the lack of confidence in what has been guaranteed. It begins with a delayed answer to a prayer. It grows through prolonged hardship. It feeds off disappointment. And soon the heart that once stood firm begins to tremble, not because the promise was ever uncertain, but because the person allowed their own vision to override trust. When someone begins to doubt the promises, their actions change. They still say the words, but their effort weakens, their patience shortens, their gratitude fades. They look for shortcuts because they no longer believe the reward of doing things the right way will come. They compromise what they once held sacred. They begin to justify choices that go against the path they once walked, all because they started to believe that maybe, just maybe, the promise won't be fulfilled, that maybe they're the exception, that maybe their struggle won't be seen. And that belief alone is enough to turn blessings away. Distrust in divine timing creates anxiety. A person starts comparing their journey with others. They look around and wonder why everyone else seems to be moving forward while they remain stuck. They forget that every soul has its own appointed path, its own pace, its own unique tests. But when trust fades, patience is replaced with restlessness. Faith is replaced with frustration. And instead of walking in peace, they walk in confusion, constantly second-guessing, constantly questioning, constantly fearing that they've been forgotten. No one who puts their full trust in their Lord is ever forgotten. It may feel like delay, but in truth, it is preparation. Sometimes blessings are held back because the heart is not yet ready to carry them. Sometimes what is being asked for would harm the person if it came too early. But the doubting heart sees only the absence. It doesn't see the protection. It doesn't see the refinement happening behind the scenes. And because it doesn't understand the wisdom, it assumes neglect. That assumption alone is a poison. There are people who make a sincere effort, who pray and fast and give, who live quietly and righteously, but when they face setback after setback, they begin to wonder if their efforts even matter. This is the danger of distrust. It makes a person feel invisible to the one who sees all. It makes them feel like their cries are echoes in an empty sky. But the truth is, every cry is recorded. Every tear is counted. Every moment of perseverance is seen, and none of it is ever wasted. The one who continues with unwavering belief, even in silence, is preparing themselves for blessings far beyond their imagination. But the one who allows doubt to rule begins to act from fear, not faith. And fear is not fertile ground for blessing. Doubt also opens the door to compromise. When a person stops believing in what's promised, they begin to chase what is easy. They begin to make choices based on what is immediately available, not what is ultimately beneficial. They lower their standards, betray their values, and settle for less than what they were meant for, all because they didn't believe the better option was truly coming. And when that happens, they often step outside the circle of blessing with their own 2 feet, not because they weren't chosen, but because they chose not to wait. Real trust is not proven in comfort. It is proven in delay. It is proven in silence. It is proven when nothing makes sense, but you still believe. That is the heart that blessings are drawn to. That is the soul that is lifted. That is the character that is honored. The one who trusts not because they see the outcome, but because they know the one who controls it. And the moment that trust becomes steady, even if the struggle continues, peace descends. Because the heart is no longer wrestling with fear, it is resting in certainty. So if blessings feel far, check the state of your trust. Do you believe only when it's easy, or do you believe even when it's dark? Do you act from faith or from fear? Do you walk steadily or hesitate with every step? Because the one who made the promise is not limited by time, by circumstances, or by logic. What he has written for you will reach you, but it will reach the version of you that believes fully, firmly, and without hesitation. And if you want the doors of blessing to swing open, you must first let go of the weight of doubt that holds them shut. When a person becomes overly consumed with material gain, it can cloud their vision, causing them to lose sight of the true source of all provision. The pursuit of wealth, status, or possessions can easily turn into a form of worship if one is not careful. It starts subtly with the desire for something better, something more. It's not inherently wrong to seek a better life or to want comfort, but when the pursuit becomes all-consuming, it begins to shift the heart's focus. It's no longer about achieving balance or providing for one's needs. It becomes about the relentless quest to acquire more, to prove something, or to achieve a standard that is ever moving. And in that pursuit, the blessings that come from humility and contentment are lost. Materialism, when unchecked, pulls a person away from the very essence of faith. It makes the heart restless and discontent, always yearning for what's next instead of appreciating what's already in front of them. The problem isn't the wealth itself, but the attachment to it. When a person begins to believe that their value, their happiness, and their sense of security depends solely on their material possessions, they begin to suffocate the soul. They replace trust in divine provision with trust in what they can accumulate. This shift in mindset is dangerous because it places limits on the heart's capacity to receive true peace and blessings. The one who is overly focused on wealth often forgets the deeper blessings that life has to offer. They forget the peace of a contented heart, the joy and the simplicity of life, the beauty and gratitude and the satisfaction that comes with knowing that all they truly need will be provided by the one who gave them life. The person who always seeks more may climb higher and higher in the material world, but they may find themselves more and more empty inside. They may acquire the latest technology, the most luxurious clothes, the grandest house, but if the heart is empty of gratitude, all of it becomes meaningless. Moreover, this attachment to material wealth can lead to unhealthy comparisons. It creates competition where none should exist. The person who constantly compares their success with others' progress will never find peace. There will always be someone who seems to have more, who seems to be ahead, who seems to be living a life of greater comfort and ease. The more one compares, the more dissatisfaction breeds, and soon the blessings in their own life seem insufficient. It makes them blind to the blessings that are already present, their health, their family, the simple joys of life. The more they focus on acquiring more, the less they appreciate what they already have. Additionally, the desire for material gain often leads people to justify unethical choices. They compromise on their values. They become willing to take shortcuts, cheat, or exploit others if it means gaining more wealth or success. And this is where the true harm lies. The very pursuit of material gain, which should be a means of living, turns into a corrupting force that compromises integrity. It drives people to sacrifice their moral compass for the sake of money, power, or status. What was once a noble goal to earn a living and provide for one's family turns into a race where the end justifies the means, even if it comes at the expense of others. But perhaps the most destructive impact of materialism is its ability to distract from the spiritual purpose of life. Life's true purpose is not to gather wealth, to build a name, or to collect things. The true purpose is to fulfill one's role as a servant, to submit to the Creator, and to live with integrity, humility, and compassion. But when the pursuit of material wealth becomes the driving force, everything else takes a back seat. Worship, gratitude, and the pursuit of higher moral and spiritual goals fade into the background. The person who is consumed by material wealth no longer sees the hand of the Creator in their life. They see only the product of their own effort, and they begin to think that they are the sole architect of their success. They become blind to the fact that every blessing, every opportunity, every moment of provision is a gift from above. True wealth is not measured by bank accounts, by possessions, or by status. It is measured by the richness of the heart, the ability to feel content with what is given, to find peace in simplicity, and to remain humble no matter how much one has. The wealth of the soul is found in gratitude, in kindness, in integrity, in humility, and in devotion. Those who have mastered the art of being content, regardless of what they possess, are the ones who are truly wealthy. They are the ones whose hearts remain open to receiving blessings because they understand that wealth is fleeting and that the true provision comes from a source beyond their control. When the focus shifts away from accumulating material wealth to seeking spiritual growth and fulfillment, blessings begin to flow more freely. When a person's heart is content with what they have and thankful for what has been given, it opens the door for more to come, not just in material form, but in peace, joy, fulfillment, and purpose. The one who places trust in the divine source of provision is never truly poor, for they know that no matter how little they may have, they are rich in what matters most: faith, love, peace, and contentment. So, if materialism has clouded your heart, take a step back. Reevaluate your priorities. Ask yourself what truly matters in this life. Seek to be rich in spirit, not in possessions. Find joy in simplicity, gratitude in what you already have, and peace in the trust that the Creator will provide for you as you seek His will. When you release the grip on material gain and focus on spiritual fulfillment, you open the door for blessings that are far greater than anything money can buy. When a person becomes distant from their Creator, whether through neglect or through deliberately turning away, it creates a barrier that obstructs the flow of blessings. It is easy to get caught up in the routine of life, to focus on the demands of work, family, and daily responsibilities, and to gradually drift away from the source of all sustenance. In the hustle and bustle of life, the connection that once anchored the heart begins to weaken. The prayers become fewer, the remembrance less frequent, and the mind begins to shift its focus away from the divine. This disconnection is often subtle and slow, but it is profoundly significant in how it impacts a person's life. The heart, which was once allied with the guidance of its Creator, begins to search for fulfillment in other places. It seeks validation in accomplishments, in relationships, in material gain and entertainment, in anything that can momentarily fill the void left by a lack of spiritual connection. Yet, no matter how much the person attains, something always feels missing. The success, the praise, the wealth, that they don't bring peace. They don't bring contentment. They don't provide lasting joy. Without the connection to the Creator, the soul is left restless, like a ship lost at sea, constantly seeking but never finding its true anchor. When someone drifts from the divine, their perception of life shifts as well. They may still perform the outward acts of worship, but their heart isn't fully in it. The prayers feel mechanical. The fasting becomes a mere obligation, and the remembrance of God is more of a duty than a source of solace. This is a dangerous place to be, where the form of worship remains, but the spirit is missing. It's like trying to drink from a well that has run dry. The soul begins to crave more and more, but it cannot be satisfied. And the further a person moves away from the divine, the more they will begin to feel this emptiness. In times of hardship, those who are distant from God struggle more than those who are connected. They may not have the peace to endure their trials, the patience to wait through difficulties, or the strength to rise after they fall. When the heart is not anchored in faith, every setback feels like a blow too strong to recover from. The challenges of life, which are part of the human experience, become overwhelming. Instead of seeing them as opportunities for growth and lessons from the Creator, they are perceived as burdens too heavy to bear. This lack of spiritual grounding creates a cycle of despair where the person feels abandoned and helpless, unable to see the light at the end of the tunnel. On the other hand, when a person maintains a strong, consistent connection with their Creator, they are given the strength to face whatever comes their way. Their faith becomes their foundation, their source of resilience, and their ultimate source of comfort. They understand that every trial has a purpose, every difficulty carries a lesson, and every hardship is temporary. They are able to weather the storms of life with patience and grace, knowing that ultimately the Creator is always with them, guiding them, providing for them, and protecting them. This connection is what transforms difficulty into an opportunity for growth, for purification, and for elevation in status before the Creator. However, the distance from the Creator does not only affect a person's ability to endure trials, it also distances them from the very source of blessings. Blessings are not just the material things we receive in life. True blessings are found in peace of mind, in contentment of the heart, in joy despite circumstances, in a sense of purpose and fulfillment. These are the blessings that come from a heart that is close to the Creator. But when that heart drifts away, these blessings slip away as well. The person may have everything they thought they wanted, but they lack the inner peace that would make those blessings truly fulfilling. Their wealth, their success, their relationships, they all feel hollow. The blessings they once received with gratitude now come with a sense of emptiness. When the connection to the Creator weakens, it's not just the blessings of peace and contentment that are lost, but also the deeper connection to divine mercy. When the soul is distant, it cannot receive the mercy that is continuously being poured out. This mercy is like the rain that nourishes the earth. But if the ground is hard, the rain cannot penetrate. It falls, but it doesn't take root. The person who distances themselves from God's remembrance and guidance finds it more difficult to receive His mercy, His forgiveness, and His grace. And without these, the soul becomes arid, struggling to find relief in anything other than worldly pursuits, which are ultimately insufficient. One of the greatest dangers of being distant from the Creator is that the heart becomes hardened. It becomes less sensitive to the beauty around it, less receptive to the truth, and less open to growth. The person becomes stuck in their ways, resistant to change, unable to reflect on their actions or their heart. They may justify their mistakes, ignore the signs, and continue in ways that are detrimental to their soul. The more distant they become, the harder their heart gets, until they no longer feel the need for change, for growth, or for repentance. This spiritual stagnation is the enemy of the soul. It leads to a place of darkness where the light of guidance no longer reaches. But even in this state of distance, the door to return is never closed. The Creator is always calling, always waiting for His servant to turn back to Him. No matter how far someone has drifted, no matter how many mistakes they have made, the moment they turn their heart back to Him, the floodgates of mercy and forgiveness are opened. The heart that once felt barren can be revived. The soul that once felt disconnected can be restored. The blessings that were once withheld can flow again. All it takes is the decision to return, to reconnect, to seek forgiveness, and to rekindle the relationship with the one who has always been there, waiting for the moment when the heart turns back. When a person becomes arrogant, thinking that they have earned all that they possess solely through their own efforts, it becomes a powerful barrier to the flow of blessings. Arrogance is not just about outward pride or boasting. It begins in the heart, where a person loses sight of the fact that everything they have, from the breath they take to the skills they possess to the wealth they accumulate, is a gift, not a right. It is this attitude of self-reliance, the belief that they are the architects of their own success, that causes blessings to recede from them. Arrogance blinds the heart, making a person forget that they are dependent on the Creator for everything, even their ability to breathe or to think clearly. It is easy for someone to become arrogant after they have achieved a certain level of success. They begin to feel invincible, as though their hard work alone is what has brought them to where they are. They may look at others who are struggling or facing hardships and think that it is because those people are not working hard enough. This attitude not only diminishes the efforts of others, but it also creates a sense of superiority where the person begins to look down on others. And this sense of superiority is a clear obstacle to receiving blessings. When a person feels that they are better than others, it hinders them from showing the humility that is necessary for receiving mercy and divine favor. Arrogance also leads to ingratitude. The person who believes they are self-made, who believes their success is solely the result of their own actions, fails to acknowledge the countless blessings that have played a role in their achievements. They forget the support they receive from others, the opportunities that presented themselves at just the right moment, the health that enabled them to work, the skills they were born with or nurtured over time, and the guidance they received along the way. In their arrogance, they fail to recognize the hand of the Creator in every success they have. They think they are the masters of their own fate, and this sense of control makes them ungrateful. It is this ingratitude that causes the flow of blessings to be cut off. A heart that is not thankful cannot receive more. It can only take and take until it is empty because it is disconnected from the true source of abundance. Another aspect of arrogance is its tendency to blind a person to their flaws. When someone is proud, they no longer see the need for self-improvement, correction, or growth. They believe they are already perfect, or at least above the need to change. This attitude prevents them from reflecting on their actions, repenting for their mistakes, and striving to become better. The proud person is often resistant to advice, correction, and feedback. They are quick to criticize others, but slow to look inward. This resistance to self-reflection creates spiritual stagnation because the individual is not willing to look at their own shortcomings and work towards self-improvement. A person who is not growing spiritually cannot receive new blessings because they are not open to the transformative power of humility and repentance. Moreover, arrogance often leads to a lack of empathy and compassion for others. When a person believes they are superior, they lose sight of the struggles and challenges that others face. They become less understanding, less forgiving, and less patient. They may dismiss the difficulties of others or assume that those who are suffering are simply not trying hard enough. This lack of compassion creates a hardened heart, one that cannot receive the mercy and blessings that come from being compassionate toward others. The more a person's heart is filled with arrogance, the less room there is for love, humility, and kindness, the very qualities that attract blessings. Arrogance also affects one's relationship with their Creator. The more a person exalts themselves, the more distant they become from the divine. Humility is the key to drawing closer to God, for He loves those who are humble, who acknowledge their dependence on Him, and who approach Him with sincerity and gratitude. The proud person, however, sees themselves as self-sufficient, as someone who does not need help, and therefore their prayers become less sincere. Their worship becomes less meaningful because it is done with a sense of obligation rather than devotion. When a person distances themselves from God by thinking that they do not need Him, the blessings that would otherwise flow into their lives are obstructed. One of the most dangerous aspects of arrogance is how it leads to a lack of repentance. The arrogant person often believes that they have done nothing wrong or that their mistakes are minor, so they don't see the need for seeking forgiveness. They may convince themselves that they are above reproach, that their actions are justified, and that they do not need to ask for pardon. This attitude prevents a person from repenting, which is the key to opening the door for mercy and blessings. Without repentance, the person remains in a state of spiritual dryness, unable to move forward, unable to heal, and unable to receive the abundant blessings that come from turning back to the Creator with a humble heart. The remedy to arrogance is humility. Humility allows a person to recognize their dependence on the Creator, to acknowledge that all they have is a gift, and to show gratitude for it. Humility opens the heart to growth, to self-reflection, to learning, and to change. A humble person understands that they are not perfect, that they have flaws, and that they need help from others and from their Creator. The humble person also recognizes the value in every person, understanding that no one is beneath them and that every individual has worth. This sense of equality creates empathy and compassion, which in turn opens the door for blessings to flow. When a person lets go of their arrogance and embraces humility, the entire nature of their life changes. They begin to see the world differently, with a heart full of gratitude, a mind open to learning, and a soul ready to grow. This shift in perspective allows them to experience life in its fullest form, to attract blessings in abundance, and to find peace in knowing that all they have comes from the Creator, who is the ultimate source of all good. A humble heart is a vessel that can hold the divine mercy and blessings, and when it is filled, it overflows to others in kindness, generosity, and love. The proud heart, however, remains empty, disconnected from the source of true fulfillment, and unable to receive the blessings that come from recognizing one's dependence on the Creator. When a person is impatient, they often miss out on the blessings that are meant for them, because patience is a key element in receiving divine favor. The impatient individual constantly seeks immediate results, expecting things to unfold on their timeline, and when that doesn't happen, frustration sets in. This impatience can manifest in different areas of life, from personal goals to relationships, and even in spiritual growth. The person who is impatient often overlooks the fact that not everything happens according to their desired schedule. They may forget that there is wisdom in waiting and allowing things to unfold in their own time, and that some blessings can only be fully appreciated after enduring the test of time. Impatience leads people to make rash decisions, to act out of desperation, or to take shortcuts in an attempt to speed up the process. They may want a particular outcome so badly that they rush into situations or make choices that are not well thought out. This can lead to mistakes, regrets, and even consequences that could have been avoided if only they had taken the time to wait and reflect. By acting out of impatience, they often move away from the divine plan for them, and instead they follow their own limited understanding of what is best. As a result, they may miss out on the blessings that would have come had they exercised patience and trust in the divine timing. Moreover, impatience breeds discontent. The person who is always looking for immediate gratification becomes easily dissatisfied with what they have in the present moment. They are constantly focused on what they do not have or what they believe they deserve, and they fail to appreciate the blessings they already possess. This discontentment makes them spiritually restless and prevents them from feeling gratitude for what they have. When someone is constantly focused on the future, they miss out on the richness of the present. They are so concerned with what's coming next that they fail to see the blessings that are already surrounding them. They may overlook the simple joys of life, good health, the love of family and friends, or the beauty of nature, all because they are impatiently waiting for something more, something bigger, something better. Impatience also affects one's relationship with others. When a person is impatient, they expect others to meet their needs and desires immediately, without delay. This can cause frustration in relationships because people are not always able to give in the way that is desired or expected. Impatience leads to a lack of understanding and empathy, as the individual's own wants take precedence over the needs of others. They may become irritated or upset when things don't go as they wish, and their frustration can create tension in their interactions. Relationships that are based on impatience are rarely fulfilling or sustainable. They are built on the expectation of immediate responses and actions rather than on understanding, cooperation, and mutual respect. The same impatience that affects relationships can also impact a person's spiritual journey. Spiritual growth, much like everything else in life, requires time. It requires patience, self-reflection, and endurance. The one who is impatient with their own spiritual development will struggle to find peace or fulfillment because they will constantly feel like they are not progressing fast enough. They will compare themselves to others who seem to be further along in their journey and become disheartened, failing to appreciate the incremental steps they are taking. Spiritual progress is often gradual. It is not measured by dramatic moments of change, but by steady, consistent effort and a willingness to remain steadfast despite challenges. The impatient person, however, seeks instant results and fails to understand that true spiritual growth comes with time and consistent effort. One of the most significant reasons impatience leads to a lack of blessings is because it demonstrates a lack of trust in the divine plan. When a person is impatient, they are, in essence, questioning the timing of the Creator. They believe that their understanding of what should happen and when it should happen is superior to the plan that is already in motion for them. This lack of trust in divine timing leads to frustration, and ultimately it creates a barrier between them and the blessings that would otherwise come. The Creator has perfect wisdom, and He knows the best time for every blessing to manifest in a person's life. Sometimes what a person desires may not be right for them at the moment, and patience allows for the opportunity to grow, learn, and prepare for the blessings that are coming. In times of difficulty, impatience can also lead to a lack of perseverance. When faced with challenges, the impatient person wants things to get better immediately. If they don't see quick results, they may give up, abandon their efforts, or lose faith that things will improve. This lack of persistence prevents them from pushing through tough times and from reaping the rewards that come from enduring hardship with patience. Life is filled with trials, and each one has a lesson to teach. When a person is patient, they allow themselves to be shaped by those trials, learning from them and emerging stronger. But when impatience takes over, they may miss the lesson entirely and fail to grow from the experience. Patience also has a profound impact on how a person perceives and reacts to the world around them. A person who is patient can wait calmly, trusting that everything will unfold as it should. They do not feel the need to rush or force things into happening. This calmness brings inner peace, and that peace is a blessing in and of itself. The one who is patient knows that everything is temporary, the difficulties, the challenges, and even the success. They understand that everything in life is part of a bigger picture and that their part in it will unfold at the right time. This perspective allows them to remain grounded and peaceful, no matter what is happening around them. The impatient person, on the other hand, is always in a state of inner turmoil. They are restless, constantly seeking more and never satisfied. They are like a vessel that is constantly being filled, but never overflowing with peace or joy. In addition, patience teaches gratitude. When a person is patient, they begin to appreciate the little things in life. They become grateful for the journey, for the growth, and for the moments of peace and joy that come, even in the midst of trials. The impatient person, however, is so focused on what they do not yet have that they fail to appreciate what is already in front of them. They miss the blessings that are present in their current circumstances because they are always looking ahead to the next thing. The one who is patient, however, can find joy in the present moment, knowing that all things come at the right time and that the Creator is always with them. Impatience is a barrier to receiving blessings, because it closes the heart to the present moment and the divine wisdom that is unfolding in one's life. The person who is patient, on the other hand, opens themselves up to receive the fullness of what is meant for them, trusting in divine timing, remaining peaceful in the midst of uncertainty, and finding joy in the process of life. Patience allows for growth, for deeper understanding, and for a closer connection to the Creator. And in doing so, it opens the heart to the blessings that are waiting to be received. When a person is overwhelmed by a spirit of bitterness and anger, they not only harm themselves, but also create a barrier to the blessings that could be theirs. Bitterness often stems from unresolved pain, past disappointments, or feelings of injustice. And if not addressed, it can fester and grow into a consuming force. This bitterness taints every part of a person's life, affecting their relationships, their perception of others, and their connection with the Creator. The bitterness may begin as a small seed of frustration, but over time, if left unchecked, it can grow into a deep-rooted resentment that blocks the flow of divine favor. Anger and bitterness are dangerous because they cloud the heart. They prevent a person from seeing things clearly, from understanding the bigger picture, and from recognizing the wisdom in the challenges they face. The angry heart is a heart that is closed off, a heart that resists peace and harmony, and a heart that cannot fully receive blessings. It becomes fixated on what is wrong, on what has been lost, or on the perceived wrongs of others, rather than being open to the many blessings that are still present. A heart consumed by anger is like a cup that is already full of negative emotions. It cannot be filled with peace, love, or gratitude until it is emptied. Bitterness also causes a person to carry the weight of the past with them long after the actual events have passed. The person who harbors bitterness cannot move forward because they are tethered to a past hurt. This attachment to pain prevents them from fully embracing the present and enjoying the blessings that life offers. Every new experience, every new relationship is filtered through the lens of past wounds. They may react to others in a way that reflects their bitterness, causing tension and a distance in their interactions. They may find it difficult to trust, to forgive, or to open their heart to new opportunities. This constant state of emotional tension keeps them in a perpetual cycle of pain and negativity, making it almost impossible for them to experience true happiness or fulfillment. Moreover, bitterness and anger distort the way a person interacts with others. The person who is angry may lash out, hold grudges, or shut others out, believing that they are protecting themselves. However, in reality, they are pushing away the very connections and relationships that could bring healing and support. Bitterness prevents a person from seeing the humanity in others. It blinds them to the struggles and pain that others may be facing, and it causes them to judge and condemn without understanding. Instead of responding with empathy, kindness, and patience, the bitter person reacts with suspicion, judgment, or harshness. They may find themselves isolated, feeling misunderstood or alone, when in fact, it is their own bitterness that is creating the distance between themselves and others. In addition to its effects on relationships, bitterness and anger also have a profound impact on a person's mental, emotional, and physical well-being. These negative emotions have been shown to contribute to stress, anxiety, and even physical ailments. Holding on to anger is like carrying a heavy burden that gradually wears down the body and the mind. The more a person holds on to these feelings, the more they risk losing their peace of mind, their clarity, and their overall health. Their energy is consumed by anger, leaving little room for the positive and restorative forces that can bring healing and renewal. The bitter person is often exhausted, not just by the events that caused their anger, but by the constant struggle to keep the bitterness alive, to nurse the wounds of the past, and to avoid facing the emotional work that would allow them to heal. Anger and bitterness also interfere with one's relationship with the Creator. The more a person holds on to bitterness, the more they turn inward, focusing solely on their own pain and grievances. This inward focus makes it difficult for them to see the bigger picture, to appreciate the blessings they still have, or to recognize the opportunities for growth and learning in their struggles. A heart that is full of anger is less receptive to the mercy and compassion of the Creator. It is closed off from the divine grace that is available to all who seek it. The Creator, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, has provided a way for his servants to heal, to forgive, and to move past the pain. But the person who clings to their bitterness rejects this divine opportunity, refusing to let go of their hurt, and in doing so, they block the blessings that come from forgiveness, healing, and reconciliation. One of the most profound ways that bitterness and anger block blessings is by preventing a person from embracing the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a key to spiritual freedom. It allows the heart to release the pain of the past and move forward without carrying the burden of anger. When a person forgives, they free themselves from the hold that others have on their emotions. They are no longer controlled by the actions or words of those who have hurt them. Forgiveness is not about excusing wrong behavior or forgetting past hurt. It is about releasing the grip that anger and resentment have on the heart. It is about acknowledging the pain, learning from it, and choosing to let go of the negative emotions that keep a person trapped. Only through forgiveness can a person create space for healing and for blessings to flow. The act of forgiveness does not just benefit the person who is forgiven. It also benefits the one doing the forgiving. Forgiveness brings peace to the soul, healing to the heart, and release from the emotional burdens that have been carried for so long. The person who forgives is able to find freedom from the grip of bitterness. And in doing so, they open themselves up to receiving blessing. The Creator promises that those who forgive will be rewarded and that the door to mercy will be open to them. But the one who holds on to bitterness, who refuses to forgive, closes that door and prevents the flow of blessings that forgiveness brings. Forgiveness requires humility, and humility is the antidote to bitterness and anger. The humble person understands that they are not perfect and that everyone, including themselves, is prone to error. They recognize that holding on to anger only perpetuates their own suffering, and they choose to release it in favor of peace. The humble person sees that no one, not even those who have wronged them, is beyond the reach of divine mercy, and they strive to mirror that mercy in their own act. This humility enables them to move past the pain, to find peace in the present, and to embrace the blessings that await them. In contrast, the bitter and angry heart remains imprisoned by its own emotions. It cannot find peace, cannot experience joy, and cannot fully receive the blessings that are meant for them. The person who is caught in the cycle of anger and resentment often feels stuck, unable to move forward in life, unable to experience growth or healing. They may wonder why they are not being blessed, why they feel stuck in their circumstances. But the answer often lies in the anger and bitterness they are holding on to. Until they let go of these negative emotions, they will continue to block the flow of blessings that are available to them. Ultimately, the key to releasing bitterness and anger lies in recognizing the power of forgiveness and choosing to embrace humility. When a person is willing to forgive, to let go of their past hurts, and to trust in the wisdom of divine timing, they open themselves up to the healing power of mercy. They begin to experience a transformation in their heart, a lightness in their spirit, and a deep sense of peace. The blessings that were once blocked by their anger and bitterness now begin to flow freely, bringing joy, contentment, and fulfillment. It is through forgiveness and humility that the heart is truly healed, and it is through this healing that the person can receive the full measure of blessings that are waiting for them. When a person allows resentment to take root within their heart, they begin a slow and silent process of blocking the very blessings that are meant to flow into their life. Resentment is a subtle emotion often born from deep wounds, disappointments, or perceived injustices. Over time, these emotions, when left unaddressed, harden the heart, cloud the mind, and prevent a person from experiencing the full richness of life. It is not merely an emotion that affects the individual in the moment, but it lingers, poisons future interactions, and casts a shadow over every aspect of one's existence. Resentment, if not dealt with, festers like an open wound, only growing larger and more painful as time goes on, preventing the person from healing, growing, or moving forward. At its core, resentment arises from a belief that one has been wronged, hurt, or denied something that they deserved. It can stem from a betrayal, an unfulfilled expectation, or a sense of unfair treatment. What often starts as a fleeting feeling of hurt can quickly evolve into a festering grudge that a person holds on to, replaying the hurt over and over again in their mind. With each passing day, they continue to nurture these feelings, feeding them until they consume them entirely. The more a person holds on to this bitterness, the harder it becomes for them to see the good in their life. They begin to focus on what has been taken from them, what they have lost, and what others have done wrong, while failing to appreciate the countless blessings that remain. This perspective distorts their reality, leaving them unable to fully recognize the positive aspects of their situation or to receive the good that is still available to them. Resentment doesn't just distort a person's outlook on life, it shapes their relationships with others. The individual who is consumed by resentment is unable to engage with others in a healthy, open manner. They view the world through a lens of distrust and suspicion, projecting their past hurts onto everyone they encounter. Even those who have done nothing to them may find themselves the target of misplaced anger or defensiveness. The bitterness they carry creates walls between themselves and others, and these walls make it difficult to form meaningful connections. Resentment prevents the person from experiencing the love, kindness, and support that others may offer because their heart is already closed off, overwhelmed by past wounds. It becomes nearly impossible to accept the help or the healing that others may be offering, as the person is too focused on what they have lost and what they feel they are owed. The longer resentment festers, the more it interferes with a person's inner peace and joy. Those who are consumed by it constantly relive past events, replaying them in their minds as if to justify their anger or bitterness. This cycle of rumination keeps them trapped in the past, unable to move forward or fully embrace the present. They are unable to experience true joy because they are too focused on what is wrong, what they do not have, or what has been taken from them. Their energy is consumed by the unresolved hurt, leaving them emotionally drained and spiritually disconnected. They may try to push through life as if nothing is wrong, but internally, they are carrying the heavy burden of resentment, which hinders their ability to find peace or satisfaction. Resentment also destroys a person's sense of gratitude. It is impossible to feel truly thankful when one's heart is weighed down by negative emotions. Gratitude requires an openness to seeing the good in every situation, to recognizing the blessings that come even in the midst of difficulties. The resentful person, however, is so focused on what they have lost or what they believe they deserve that they are blind to the many blessings that still remain. They may take for granted the love and support of family and friends, the opportunities they have, or the health and strength they enjoy. They become fixated on what is missing in their life, which prevents them from fully appreciating the present moment or the blessings that still surround them. The heart that is filled with resentment has little room for gratitude. And without gratitude, it becomes even harder to recognize the divine favors that are still present. One of the most damaging consequences of holding on to resentment is the way it affects a person's relationship with the Creator. When someone is consumed by resentment, they are unable to fully connect with the divine wisdom that is guiding them. Resentment is an obstacle to faith because it causes the person to question why certain things have happened to them, why they have been hurt, or why life has been unfair. They become so focused on their pain that they lose sight of the bigger picture, of the wisdom and mercy that underlie every situation. The Creator, in His infinite wisdom, knows what is best for His servants. And even in the most painful circumstances, there is a deeper purpose and plan. However, when someone holds on to resentment, they reject the opportunity to trust in this greater plan. They resist the lessons that are meant to be learned through their struggles, and they close themselves off from the possibility of healing and growth. Moreover, resentment blocks the flow of divine mercy. The more a person holds on to their anger or bitterness, the less receptive they are to the mercy and forgiveness that the Creator offers. The act of holding on to resentment is, in a sense, a refusal to forgive. a refusal to let go of the hurt and embrace the opportunity for healing. But it is through forgiveness that a person frees themselves from the chains of the past and opens their heart to divine mercy. Forgiveness is not about excusing wrong behavior or forgetting past hurt, but about releasing the hold that anger and resentment have on the heart. It is a conscious choice to let go of the negative emotions that prevent one from moving forward. The Creator promises that those who forgive will be forgiven and that His mercy will be bestowed upon them. Yet the person who clings to resentment cannot experience this mercy because their heart is closed to it. They are too consumed by their anger to accept the peace and healing that forgiveness offers. The root of resentment lies in the unwillingness to let go of the past. When someone continues to dwell on past wrongs, they bind themselves to a history that cannot be changed. The person who is unwilling to forgive becomes trapped in the past, unable to fully engage with the present or look forward to the future. The pain of the past continues to control them, shaping their actions, their emotions, and their interactions with others. This attachment to the past prevents them from experiencing the freedom that comes from letting go and moving on. The more a person holds on to resentment, the more they remain chained to the pain, unable to experience the blessings that await them. However, the power to break free from resentment lies in the ability to forgive and to release the grip that anger has on the heart. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for healing, not only for the person who has wronged you, but also for yourself. When you forgive, you free yourself from the emotional weight that resentment brings. You choose peace over anger, healing over hurt, and light over darkness. Forgiveness is a process, and it may take time, but it is the only way to truly move forward and experience the blessings that the Creator has in store. It allows you to embrace the present, to find peace within yourself, and to open your heart to the abundance of love, mercy, and grace that is available to you. A heart that is free from resentment is a heart that is open to receiving the many blessings that life offers. It is a heart that can love without hesitation, trust without fear, and appreciate without reservation. It is a heart that is filled with gratitude, and that gratitude opens the door to further blessings. When you let go of resentment, you make space for joy, for healing, and for a deeper connection with the Creator. You allow yourself to be transformed by the power of forgiveness. And in doing so, you become a vessel of peace and love, ready to receive the blessings that are meant for you.